Are you rethinking your purpose in life? Being centered in a strong spiritual connection is more important now than ever. Hi, I'm Bryn Blankinship, hypnotherapist, international instructor, and author. Each episode, along with Dr. Pat, I'll share my experiences with guiding spiritual regression clients into the afterlife and the soul lessons gained, prompting you to explore your own soul's journey and empowering you by shifting your perception of yourself and your place in this world. I want you to know that you're here by design, not by accident. You are not alone. You are loved. You are here on purpose, for a purpose. When you stand in your truth and fulfill your purpose, you support others in fulfilling theirs. If this intrigues you, stay tuned in as we explore. Hey everybody, it's Bryn Blankinship, Afterlife teacher, and we are going to be talking about going from seeker to student and how the winding road is sometimes the most direct path. So when I was thinking about this episode, I was actually thinking about some of my students and how they came to become students of mine, to become hypnotherapists and regressionists. And in the past couple of episodes, I've had different students share with you, what drew them to do this work and how they got here. And this got me thinking about my path. So we could rename this episode Bomb Threat, Police Dogs, and the Spiritual Path via Hollywood. Because way back, I was reading the spiritual books and I was having, I was really drawn to that manifesting, creating your own destiny, co-creating with spirit. And I had read Shirley MacLaine's book. She had two books, but Dancing in the Light. And that really got my attention. That book helped me to realize that there was a therapeutic value to having a past life session instead of just the story. So, I logged that away somewhere in my mind. But let's get back to the bomb threat. I was working at a law firm. I'd been doing that. That was my career, but I really wanted to be an actress. So as I was thinking about co-creating, I used to think about, well, how did these other people, how did they get to be in a place where they could do that work? How did they, because some people have been doing that since they were infants. So I thought, how is that possible? I want to be an actress. How can I do that? And back when I was little, I was on the Bozo Show, and there were a couple of different kids programs that I got to be in the audience, and they called me out of the audience, and I got to be on stage. So that kind of stuck with me too. So anyway, here I am. I'm working at the law firm, and someone called in a bomb threat, right? Some disgruntled person called in a bomb threat against our law firm. So they evacuated the building. It's a couple of stories, 3 stories. Everybody went outside as usual, because this happened more than one time, except for me and the attorney that I work for. Well, I work for a couple of attorneys. The other one, he went outside, but this one is like, no, we're going to stay here and work. And, usually it was nothing and they clear the building and then everyone comes back in. But this time I'm typing away and the German Shepherd police dogs are sniffing under the desks. They come to my desk. I'm typing away, headset on, typing, typing, typing. I have a police dog sniffing under my knees to try to find a bomb. And I'm typing, typing, typing. And I said, wait a minute. What is wrong with this picture? What is wrong with me? What if this is actually a bomb threat, more than just a threat this time? So, and it took a minute for all this to register. I stood up, I went and talked to my attorney. I said, look, I'm going to go outside. It's probably nothing, but just in case, and you should come outside with me too. He rolled his eyes. So I left. And this is me standing up for myself, right? You're told to stay, it's your boss, you don't want to go against them. So I went outside. Everything was fine. We all came back inside, the excitement was over, but that moment changed my life. That moment really changed my view of things. And I said, you know what? Life is too short. If I'm going to live, I want to figure out how I can be an actress too. So I worked there a while longer, but not too much longer. And then I had been studying acting anyway. So I made the leap to full time. Okay. So as I did that, I followed my heart. My heart was saying, my inner guidance was saying, go do this. I was terrified. I got to make a living, got to pay the bills, got to find out how I'm going to take these classes. How are you going to pay for class if you don't have a job? Right. So I rearranged my life, had a very supportive husband, and we worked things out so that I could do this. And, I've talked about the story about how that led, eventually, a past life session had led me to LA and things opened up. But I've had a few past life sessions, and some of them were as healers in the past life. And then I had more as I went on to do my own training. So, from the time I really started that spiritual journey to where I took my first hypnosis class, it was nearly 10 years. And not only was I told to go out to LA for acting, and I did some work and I did film and TV, and I was really starting to really get, have some good opportunities come my way. But there was that one defining moment that I knew I wanted to be on the other side of the camera. So I studied hypnosis out there because I had coaches that I worked with. I had, people in the industry, and I really liked the behind the scenes work. And I really liked when I, was the client in the past life sessions, and I wanted to know how to do that. And I wanted to do it for other people because if I could find this needle in a haystack and eventually go out to LA and find my way, I'm sure I could help others with what they were wanting to improve and change. So when I had my session, I was actually told you're going to go out for one thing and come back with another. And this took a couple of years from the time I had that session, going out there, being out there for a couple of years and coming back, right? But when I came back with some training, enough to know that I wanted to further my training, get certified, and become a past life regressionist and hypnotherapist. So that was not a straight journey. It was not a straight road. It was a winding path. But all the synchronicities and following my soul's guidance is what led me there. It's what's led me in every step of my life, actually. There are those times where I was guided to do something and I said, nope, I don't want to do that, even as a kid. And then you would get in trouble, they would manipulate you. And I'm like, no, that is not what I want to do. So everyone has their own path and their own journey to doing this work. And, that was mine. And it was kind of around me all the time. And, I was thinking back recently about the Shirley MacLaine book in class a couple of weeks back. And I was thinking about this yesterday when I'm thinking about today's show. And what popped up across my screen was Shirley MacLaine's newsletter. And that whole incident coming full circle years later after reading her books, 20 years later, when my book came out, she found out about it and featured it in her newsletter. So a lot of interesting synchronicities happen to guide people, right? To whatever path. Today we're talking about hypnosis and past life regression certification, but anything that you're guided towards, anything, you feel that nudge or you feel that calling guiding you. So there's divine timing, there are synchronicities that appear, and these are signs, right? And this is how students come to take this path as well. These signs for all kinds of things, but especially for training, because it may come up and then it comes up again, and then you have a repeating message, or the name of a course or an instructor keeps coming to you. Maybe you've had a powerful session yourself. You know, often in a session, clients talk about, um, you know, they discover that they were a healer in a past life, and they're doing that work again. They're feeling guided to take this course or other courses in the healing arts. Um, they may be told directly. Sometimes a spirit guide comes through a session and says, "You need to take Bryn's course." Sometimes students contact me and they say, "Look, I'm thinking about taking your course. I want to do a session with you." And I said, "Okay." So I make a little note. And when we're in the middle of the session and we have a guide there, I will ask, is this course the right course for this person? Most times they say yes, and sometimes they say no. So often the student is guided, and sometimes they say, "No, we wanted that person to have a session with you to get some clarification. Here's what we want her to do or him to do first." Okay. So there are different signs that come across. And so I wanted to share with you a couple of things that have come up with students that led them to take the course. Recently in class, I had a student he was like, "I want to sign up. I'm waiting for a sign." He's riding his bike out in the country road, and a pair of shoes appear overhead. I don't remember if it was over a tree, but it was something high up, and it caught his attention, these shoes. And he hears a voice that says, "If the shoe fits." And he came back, got back home, got on his computer, and signed up for the course, and then shared that with me. Other times, the course name keeps coming up. I had a student who was introduced to me separately. Just she was introduced to me for something else and found out that I was a hypnotherapist and said, "Oh, I've always wanted to do that. In fact, I looked into it and I just couldn't find the right course online." And I talked to her about my course, and she decided that my course spoke to her. She went to the website and it spoke to her with what she wanted. And what she liked was the step-by-step process. So you can take it through the various stages to get certified as a hypnotherapist and then as a regressionist, and then take it as far as you want to take it. And there was no travel, and it's live and interactive and online. So that was important to her because she didn't have the travel expenses and didn't have that extra cost, and the timing worked out that she could get started right away. So things like that happen too. What's so interesting is that I've many times I've had students say, "I was thinking about your course. I looked at a couple of different courses, and I don't know what happened, but somehow your picture or your web page kept popping up on the screen." And and I said, "Look, you can't pay for that kind of advertising. My guides are working overtime on the other side doing that." So, there are many paths that will guide someone to become hypnotherapists. And, some of the skills that are really important to doing this work are being heart-centered and having a strong intuition, trusting the guidance that you're given so that you can trust the guidance when you're helping others. And then being an empath, having empathy for others, right? Because you're going to hear some really powerful stories. And then also being open minded, because where you start is going to shift as you're doing this work. With every client session, you're going to hear things. But these are all good skills, as well as being an independent thinker. And you need to be able to work on your own. I can give you the tools, but you're going to be working on your own to set up your practice and work with clients one-on-one. But it's really rewarding work to be doing this. So if you're feeling signs that it's time to move beyond seeking for yourself and to help others, and it's time to move from seeker to student, you might have heard the call and you already know this is what you want to do. And then for some people, they're still thinking about it. And, this course, each level of the course is like an energetic threshold that students are crossing to go into that deeper space. And if you're someone that's seeking purposeful direction, if you're curious about consciousness, hypnosis, past life regression, how patterns of belief shape our lives. Because we have patterns of belief from current life, we have patterns of belief shaped from multiple past lives that are guiding us now, right? And all of those things, along with the strong urge to help others, are what lead people to take these courses and to become certified. And it's not only about helping others, but you're opening to your own unique gifts and your own story, because it's a process of unfolding. Life is a process of unfolding. And just like moving from seeker to student, you have your own story that you're going to share with your clients, because they're going to say, how did you get started? And they're going to love you for your story, your presence, and you're going to have transformational tools that will help you to help them move past whatever's holding them back, right? So as you're opening to learning, you're opening to amplify your own gifts, and you are helping others along the path. And it feels really good to see clients improving, moving beyond things that were holding them back. I have students. In fact, it's there are no accidents. The stories that I'm sharing today of students coming together at just the time where I was going to be speaking on this subject. And I had a student, she's already certified, she's been practicing for a few years, who contacted me, and she's also a medium. And she said, Bryn, I moved into your hypnosis training, and then your hypnosis training actually enhanced my mediumship. And when I'm doing past life sessions, it's enhanced by mediumship because it helps me to help the client. And then as you are becoming a practitioner, you are opening up these intuitive gifts inside you that are already there, waiting to be amplified, waiting to be ignited. With every client, with every practice session, as you're in the client chair. So, you have that story inside you that's just waiting to unfold. And then you'll be sharing that with your clients. So, you know, um, it's up to you if you feel the calling. But if this does speak to you, I wanted to share with you that we have the final course of the year. We've added a course and we've moved some things around. So for November 1st and 2nd, we have a 2-day intro course. And it is Intro to Hypnosis. It's a weekend course that gets you started. We'll teach you inductions and deepeners and some release techniques and emerging, just to get you started. But you have to take this course before you can move into Hypno Skill Sets, which is level 1. And that course is set up for November 12 through 16. So there's time for you to take the Intro to Hypnosis and then take the Hypno Skill Sets in November. And just contact me. You can reach me at brynblankinship.com. You can sign up through the website. And remember also, I created a guide for you called Hypnosis Pathway. It's called Are You Ready to Be a Hypnosis Practitioner? And it's a little workbook, and it's at hypnosispathway.com. And it's a little workbook that leads you through some questions that people have when they're considering taking the course, if you're still riding the fence or if you're considering this. If you're ready to go, you can just go to brynblankinship.com. And here's what I want to really get across to you. It's not about the perfect time. The perfect time is when you feel the urge. The divine timing is guiding you. You're getting that nudge, this is it. It's time to go from being the bystander and reading about it to really putting it into practice. You're going to go through your own transformational process as the client, as the student, helping you get ready to work with clients. We do practice sessions in our class. We do lecture, we do demo. My instructors have also taken my course, started from the ground up. They're familiar with this work. I know what it's like to be sitting in that chair. You're excited, but you're nervous all at the same time. And I want to be there and help you along this path. So it's not about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about being present for your clients. In fact, moving through your life, it's not about being perfect, it's about being present in your life. Because when you're more present, you can take advantage of opportunities, you can maybe prevent some things from happening because you're paying more attention, and you can, find a better course to pathway to move along that would prevent something from happening. But it really is about being present and in the moment, and then following that guidance. And so thinking about your own journey, the path is not a direct path that got you where you're at right now. Whatever moving forward is going to lead you to, that's not a direct path either. Sometimes the direct path is the winding road. And, even with their past lives, sometimes past that past life, and then the one after that, and then the one after that, and then the one that you're in, they're all leading you somewhere because you're working through issues, you're working through patterns. And so being more present and in the moment, you can move through situations more clearly, because that moment of clarity can reshape your life. And it's just really powerful work. And I learned this in acting, and I teach acting techniques in class as well. But auditioning, you have to be in the moment. You can't be thinking about your lines. You can't be thinking about what happened, who you ran into in the lobby. Some people used to consider that competition. And I was like, nope, the only competition is myself. I just have to be the best version of myself and show up today being the best version of me that I can possibly be. And by doing that, maybe I'll book the audition. But I've carried those techniques forward into my practice, and it helps me with the client. It helps me when I'm teaching. It helps me when I'm speaking. It just carries me through that moment and helps me to stay present. And then I can listen to the guidance that I'm receiving. I'm receiving guidance. I'm also receiving emails from y'all. Thank you. Telling me things that you're interested in or things that you found helpful from listening to the podcast. So if you're interested in the course, you can find me and register at brynblankinship.com. If you want to follow me online on social media, you can follow me at Bryn Blankinship Author on Facebook and Instagram. You can follow my podcast episodes on all major platforms, including my YouTube channel, Bryn Blankinship. And I would love to see you in class. If this speaks to you and it's something that you're drawn to, please reach out and contact me and we'll get you registered. And by the end of the year, the beginning of next year, you could be well on your way to certification and being a hypnotherapist, finishing out 2025, moving into 2026 as the hypnotherapist that you're being guided to be. So thank you so much for tuning in. And hope you have a great afternoon or morning wherever you are in the world.
You've been listening to Afterlife Teacher, Soul Lessons bringing you full circle with Bryn Blankinship and Dr. Pat. Tune into Transformation Talk Radio for more discussions of the soul's journey across different lifetimes and soul lessons gained, helping you to consider the deeper reason you are here. Bryn shares her wisdom spanning 20 years of guiding spiritual regression clients into the afterlife and connecting them with their spiritual team and soul's purpose to bring them full circle, helping you gain insight into your own soul's purpose while supporting others in fulfilling theirs. Living in partnership with your soul, with less worry and greater trust, you can be in divine flow and thrive. For more information on becoming a certified hypnotherapist and regressionist and assisting with the global transformation taking place, visit brynblankinship.com.